the next part of our project here is going to be freeing this pinion gear from its shaft, and then we'll put a new shaft in it, and then it can be TIG welded on the end. I'll make it a press fit, so it shouldn't lack any strength or anything. Obviously, making a new one from just full raw stock or from gear stock would be best, but as I mentioned before, this is meant to be a money saving, do it the best way possible for the least money possible. So that's what we're gonna go with. So I've got it chucked up in the lathe. I think this is probably the easiest way to do this. I'll go ahead and drill and bore this out to exactly 500, exactly a ½ inch. And then when I part it off the back, this section will basically be done. I'll put a chamfer, a nice heavy chamfer on this side so that when it's welded back on, it'll be a nice deep penetration. But I went ahead and just put it in the chuck and then grabbed an indicator, and it is exactly 1,000th TIR. So I think that's gonna be plenty good enough. This shaft moves at pretty low speed, so I don't think it being perfectly balanced or in alignment with the shaft itself is gonna hurt anything. You may remember this drill from the making my tool holder organizer video. It's the same one. Get a little more use out of it. Oh, that wasn't good. Man. So I kind of hate to do this, but I think what I'm going to do is the outside, of course, is hardest, and that's where these little tools sticking out far are having the hardest time. So I think what I'm going to do is get a carbide burr and give myself a bevel here, because I need that anyway for the weld to secure the new shaft. So I think that'll probably give me a slightly better chance. If I can get rid of that, the boring bar should start down in softer material. So, this is no fun. Let me give that a shot. I think you can see that I've got the bedways covered up, so they are not going to get any grit on them. Also got the feed rod turned off, so there's nothing rotating on the front of the bed. And we are just going to go fairly slow, the spindle. See what happens. Hopefully it's not a disaster. Okay, hopefully that worked. That thing is way harder than my hardness files suggested it was. See what the boring bar does now that that's relieved. Okay, that definitely sounds happier, doesn't it? Okay, we ended up a little bit oversized, which is fine. I was just trying to get to 500 as kind of my minimum target so that the shaft inside would be, you know, more than half of the diameter of the shaft. So now that ate up more of my chamfer than I was expecting, so get the blanket back over here, or the cover back over here, and do some more grinding there, and then we'll have to part this sucker off. Hopefully that's not too much of an adventure. All right, hopefully this isn't a complete disaster. Yikes. You ever find yourself doing some project and you wonder, I could have been playing golf today, or really most anything other than this, and yet here I am. It's kind of how I'm feeling right now. Could have been worse, I suppose. All right, we got the most miserable part done, I think. Guess I don't really know. I recently picked up a tool post grinder, and that thing with a diamond or even silicon carbide probably cutting wheel on it would have been great, but I do not have anything like that available, so. Let's see, to keep that face square to where we're going to be cutting, see if this will help us. So that's my 3-jaw work stop. It's edge precision. I actually saw A-Bomb, showed this off a while back now, and At the time I was like, well, I don't know. Guess that looks pretty decent, but it seems like something I won't use enough to justify the cost. And I was completely wrong on that. The one minor complaint I have is not a knock against its function, it's just for taller hard jaws. It doesn't reach off, these are the tallest ones, and there's still like an inch of space before you get to the end of the jaws. So having something a little longer would be very helpful. I'll probably make my own. I reached out to them and they don't make any parts. You kind of just have to buy the kit, and it only comes up to these 1 5/8" parallel pieces. So still have to make do and stuff like that, but that should get me pretty parallel, the back face to the cutting direction. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Now this, I don't know how hard this is going to be, and nothing has gone my way so far. So here's my little chicken scratch drawing and the parted off, ground off pinion gear. So we just basically need to make the shaft again. It's not too complicated. There's really only 2 critical dimensions. Obviously the length needs to be close, but it doesn't have to be, millimeter perfect. So this is all going to be one diameter all the way down to here, and then we've got this smaller section and then the keyway. I'm just kind of guessing on the keyway based on the gear. It's just so, wallered out and corroded that, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it was even close to the standard sized keyway for a 7/8 shaft. Typically a 7/8 shaft would have a 3/16 keyway, and this is about 275 wide, so it's over 1/4 inch. So I don't know, I'll try and do the best that I can, and probably end up making a stepped key. Go ahead and put a 3/16 keyway in there, and then making the key fit the gear on the top. So hopefully that's not a bad approach. But anyway, so we are going to use some 4140 pre-hard polished and ground material, and it is 1 inch stock. I didn't have any 7/8 in my drawer, so no big deal. We'll turn it down a little bit and make a reduced end over here to go inside our little modified gear, and go to town. Shouldn't take too much effort to get this. So the final dimension for this part is going to be just under 7 inches. So I think we'll go ahead and stick this thing out about 7.5. And unless I'm not thinking of something, that should be able to stay there until we part it off and we're finished. And then take it over to the milling machine for the keyway. So we'll see if Aaron forgot something. So here's it's always kind of a challenge for me on this machine, is I've got this nice big powered compound, but it's really tall, and so I end up having no room and have to move the tool post around, or swing the compound around rather, in order to get the tool post in a position where I can cut on the face and get up close to the chuck. So anyway, it's my life with compromises, just like anything else. Can only stick the tailstock spindle out so much, and I've got an extension I can use, but I try not to use it unless I really have to. So here the compound is almost touching the barrel of the spindle here, and we're still 3/8 of an inch away from the part from the cutting tool. It's got to move the compound around. The problem is, if I can't put it at 90 degrees because the compound hits the base of the tailstock. So it's just always kind of a pain in the neck to find the right combination of angle of the compound and angle of the tool post, and having enough stick out on the tool, but not too much, having a long part stuck out too far or whatever. It's just kind of what I have to deal with. It's kind of a big lathe problem anyway, but this particular big lathe is extra problematic for this kind of stuff. See if we can get in here like so. This is basically 72 degrees. You can have the tool post sticking out a little bit, but I don't want to go too much further than that. Yeah, we're already crashing. See if we can get away with just 90 degrees. All right, changing tools seem to help, and we're 90 degrees, so you can push straight in on the cross slide and its compound is in line with it. But anyway, this is something I have to deal with all the time. I don't think I've ever shown it before, so. It's never good. Apparently the camera got bored and stopped watching. So we're just down to making this to length. I touched off the end of it, pulled the live center out, touched off the end of it, and then we're just gonna come up and create our shoulder. got just a little bit of taper in there, so I'm going to use some emery cloth and bring this side down just a little bit. I touched off the parting blade on the other shoulder that we just finished, and over to here is 4 inches 975, and our finish dimension from our shoulder we're about to make to the other one is 4 inches 950. So I'm just gonna plunge in here a little bit, and then we're gonna turn, maybe even just with the parting tool, just plunge in a few times to get rid of most of the material. This dimension here is only 732, I believe. I'll double check that before we go. But anyway, so we don't have to take a ton off of this side. And once that's done, we'll part it off and then go get our keyway milled in there. All right, I think that's it for the lathe work. Getting set up here in the mill, and I've just got my double V block here just to give extra support in the back. I think I've got it hanging out about far enough. Here's how the other one looks. So I need to cut the keyway, or the key seat rather, right in there. And just to give this thing a nice pinch and also not to make a flat spot on the side of the shaft, I've just got one of my mechanical fuses here. It's a piece of aluminum that's probably, I don't know, 30 thou thick. Yeah, got a nice strong hold. So we need to touch off the end. That's where my drawing came, or how I made my drawing was from the end is the start of the keyway and then to the end of the key seat. And then we'll obviously want that centered up. So we'll just use our edge finder for figuring all of that up. Okay, go ahead and zero out the knee. Take a look here to see how wide it cut. Usually a key seat cutter will be a little bit wider than the nominal dimension, make fitting the key easier. Yeah, that should work. All right, I think we are done. Last step here is to go ahead and press the pinion gear on. And I've already tested the fit of the bushings and everything. I think we're done. Okay, we are making some progress here. I just went and bumped that down with the arbor press. So as you can see, I left a pretty good bevel on the end of the shaft to match up with the bevel I ground in the gear. So there's plenty of material there for Adam to weld on. And the way this is gonna look is there's one of my bushings. It's gonna be up here about, another one's gonna be about there. Then our trash gear goes right there. I don't know if it goes this direction or flipped over. And then this bushing goes on the end of it. So that is approximately what it looks like when it's in operation, somewhere in there. Yeah, so there we go. We're making good progress on this project. The next, probably the most complicated part is going to be remaking this shaft. It's going to take a couple of ground tools to make these profiles. Of all the things I'm bad at in the machine shop, probably one of the worst is grinding a tool bit. I just don't have very much experience. Indexable carbide is just it's easy to come by and fast and accurate and everything else. So I have very little practice grinding tool bits. And anyway, so I'll have to work through that and hopefully get a little better at doing so. And then we still need to push that bushing out, make it, and then make another one Adam discovered needed to be changed out since I started. So anyway, making progress, but that is certainly a whole lot better than what it used to look like.